Hello and good afternoon, friends. Today I want to talk to you about effluent filters in septic tanks. What are they? How do they work? And why you should consider getting one installed in your septic system. Let's get into it. Effluent filters. Big question that I get asked a lot about is, what are they, right? So let's kind of break this down into the basics. So when you have a septic system, you're going to have the tank, and then you're going to have the absorption system. The absorption system is what deals with the liquids. The tank is what captures the solids. Now, no matter how well you take care of that tank, even if you're pumping it religiously, a little bit of that debris is going to work its way out of the tank and into the drain fields. That little bit of debris, we call that biomat. That biomat, which is biologic material, will get into the drain fields and it will cause failure, right? No matter how well you take care of it, it will always fail. That's just how the world works. When you're a homeowner, everything breaks, right? But there are some steps that you can take to help prevent some of that damage and to extend the life of your drain fields. So effluent is a fancy term for poo water, right? It's the wastewater that's inside your septic tank, and in the tank, you're gonna have a thing called a baffle, right? So most commonly you'll see two baffles, one on the front, one on the back. In our area nowadays, you're gonna see three. You're gonna see the front baffle, middle baffle, back baffle, right? Each of those are gonna serve a different job. The one in the front, its sole purpose, slow everything down, right? So you're not disturbing the solids in the tank, you're allowing everything to settle out and transit on to the next stage. The middle baffle is basically gonna prevent a majority of the debris from getting to the second chamber. The second baffle in the back chamber, its job is to prevent any of that additional debris from getting out of the tank and into the drain fields. So the baffle is gonna prevent the scum, the floating stuff, from getting in there, causing clogs and all sorts of problems. But little bits of that debris will work its way into the tank, or sorry, into the distribution box. So what you can do is you can install something like this. This is called an effluent filter. So if we look at it, we'll see that there are these little slats inside of there, and this little piece actually locks it in place. There's a little gasket, and what you do is you slide it down into the baffle, and then basically as the water goes through the middle of it, the debris will get caught on the inside, and then the water will go through these little slats out here into the outlet line and into the drain fields. So let's go ahead and take a look at the septic tank and see kind of what I'm talking about. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're looking at the outlet line baffle, right? So the back baffle is going to prevent all that floating stuff, the scum, from getting into the pipe and over to the distribution box. But if you watch carefully, you'll see that the water that's floating out of the tank in that baffle is going to be carrying a little bit of debris. It's not a lot, but just a little bit over the course of many years can add up, right? So what that effluent filter will do is it'll slide right into that baffle and it'll prevent all that debris from getting out of the tank. Now, that effluent filter only works if you have this style of baffle, right? Like if you have something like the one, if you have something very similar to the style that you would see on older houses where it's a concrete baffle, that effluent filter will not work until you get rid of the concrete baffle and install a PVC baffle. So underground, or under the water, you're actually gonna see something that looks like this, right? So we have our outlet line here, we have our vent, and then we have the bottom part. So what'll happen is that effluent filter will slide into this, and then that will basically be used to retrofit any of those older houses, depending on the pipe material that's out of the tank, or coming out of the tank, right? So these effluent filters, generally for that gray one, right, the manufacturer suggests servicing it once every 3 years. I would say in practice, most families of 4 are doing it once a year, maybe every 6 months. It really depends on your usage and your solids. But if you're cleaning it more often, that means that that's catching all that dirt and debris and sewage stuff that's working its way out of the tank and into the distribution box, causing all sorts of havoc. So by having the filter, it will actually make it that the system's working more efficiently and more effectively, right? So whenever you're trying to determine which type of filter to go with, it's very important to make sure that you also look at the design spec for gallons per day or gallons per hour to figure out how much water you're able to run through there before it actually backs up just because you're putting too much water too fast, right? A residential filter like that, perfectly fine. Almost nobody will overload the system with that kind of filter. But on a commercial system where you have a lot more water going through there, or maybe it's like a large apartment complex, you will eventually run into a problem because you're gonna have more water than that's designed to address, right? So you gotta kind of do a little bit of math and some due diligence to figure out exactly what's going on. I am curious though, at your house, do you have an effluent filter? Have you ever thought about putting an effluent filter in? I usually recommend them on every house, especially with a tank that has such easy access as the one that this one has. And the reason why is, as a homeowner, you can take care of it yourself. If you don't want to take care of it, that's okay. You can hire somebody to do it. That's what everybody has companies for. But what you got to consider though is that drain fields are very expensive. So you want to do everything in your possible ability to make it to where that drain field lasts as long as physically possible, so that you're not spending any money on something that you don't want to have to be spending money on, right? I hope that you found this useful. If you enjoy content like this, I have videos posted every day on the World of Well and Septic. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Till next time, guys.